Are you planning your second grade homeschooling year? Here's exactly the picks that I've chosen for my second grader going into the 2025-2026 school year. I've spent countless hours, so much research, deciding what curriculum we're going to use for our 7-year-old going into second grade for the 2025-2026 school year. And so if you're going down that rabbit hole too and you want to find out exactly what we're using, this video is going to break down all the core subjects plus all the electives and how we're incorporating a 2-year-old into the routine this year. And in case we haven't met, my name is Brandi Mouse. This is our second year homeschooling to a 7-year-old going into second grade and a 2-year-old who will be joining us for, let's just call it tot schooling this year. Very gentle. And also I'm a full-time working business owner. I work from home. My husband's a stay-at-home dad, so he also is very involved in our homeschool. And I am a firm believer that one size doesn't fit everyone when it comes to homeschooling. So hopefully how we do things may inspire you to do things your way or incorporate some of the things that we do in our homeschool into yours to make it easier for you planning your homeschool year. Before we jump into each subject individually, I think it is important that you see like the whole. We are slightly inspired by Charlotte Mason, but also we do things on our own as well. I do enjoy providing the feast, as they would say. So we do have lots of different topics. We don't do them every day. We're a big fan of getting out, play, outside activities. I don't want you to think, oh my gosh, they do so much. We do a lot, but we don't do a lot each day, if that makes sense. Up here we have our core daily, and I'll go over those first. And then all of our electives are fun things. And I plan out generally what we're doing for the year, curriculum-wise, which is what I'll go over. And then each term, I plan out and sit down and plan out a term at a time. So I'm done with term 1. I won't work on term 2 until we get 4 weeks out from it. And then same thing with term 3, because we know things like move, they push, interests change. And so we want to leave room for the magic. Now that you know about how we structure things, what we do, let's jump into the actual curriculum choices for 2025-2026 school year for my second grader. So I'm gonna start with our things that we do every day. And by every day, Monday through Thursday, and then we are year-round homeschoolers. Okay, so let's start with the first subject we start our day with, which is math. And the winner for this year is Math with Confidence, second grade. My daughter loved the first grade, and now we're moving on to second grade. And so we're just sticking with what's tried and true. I do get the hardbound copies. I do have a little one that's 2, so he'll be coming up soon. And so just like with Math with Confidence 1, I got the teacher workbook and the actual workbook, but then I went through and I made copies of the workbook and then bound it on my own. So now we have all the copies for when my little man is ready to do this. We already have it covered. And then of course, the instructor guide is just here. I love the open and go of this, and my daughter loves the games. So this is how we typically start our morning, is with math or literature, which our literature, let's jump into that one now, because these are our first 2 subjects that we do first thing in the morning. This is where we found our routine works the best. So we do math or literature first, and our literature for this year is gonna be Blossom and Root Level 2. They just updated this, and I'm super excited about the books. We did Blossom and Root last year, and I will say that I'll have a video coming out about the mistakes I made as first-year homeschooling mom, and I will say we bounced around a little bit. And I wish we would have just stuck with Blossom and Root, because my daughter loved it, we loved it. So we're going all in on Blossom and Root. Now by that, we don't do like the word list. We really use it for our literature portion, our narration, our copy work. So that's very Charlotte Mason, and we do love that. When I was looking over the book list, I love that this edition, they have the classic roadmap and then the more modern. And when I went through and chose which books we're doing a mix of classics and modern. My husband's super excited because we do The Hobbit this year. He loves that. I'm really excited about the trickster tales from all the different countries and regions. So we start with Europe and then we go into Asia and Africa. And I get really excited about whenever we do the worldly. And I love that when she creates this, it's very worldly perspective. It's not so European perspective. Another thing that I love about Blossom and Root is she gives you a lot of options. Each week I can choose one and we kind of rotate. One week we may do the peg dolls, the next one we may watch the movie, or the next one we may do one of the crafts. And so I love that we have options and we can rotate. So once again, I bound these. So this one is the parent's guide, and I will already go through and kind of like make a list of all the books. And so if you want to see the books that I picked for this, or how I plan what order we're going to do things, just let me know and I can create a video on that. Same thing with the student workbook. We went on, printed it, put it in here. I didn't do this last year and I'm excited for her to have her workbook. We were using notebooks, like a first grade notebook, and it was just a lot of me like rewriting things, and I'm glad that this year we have narration and everything in one notebook. And then here's her favorite part of Blossom and Root, and we really like these. And I made her a special cover, and these are the mini poems. So where she has the word list and goes and does the poems. She loves doing this. And so this can be something that we're gonna put in her activity basket that she can go and grab and do whenever she wants, once a week, twice a week. And so I printed all these out, bound them. She knows how to cut them, and then it helps with her reading, her vocabulary, her spelling. And so we're excited about that. So literature and math. Math, we have confidence, literature, Blossom and Root, year 2. And if you want to see the books that I picked, make sure to comment below and I'll show you exactly which ones we've picked. Then usually in our day, there's a break. And that's where the 2 kids go play together. I start my work day, and then once Bodhi, our 2-year-old, takes his nap, that's when Austin, my husband, steps in and he does ELA, phonics, reading, that type of stuff with my daughter. And so our choices are really simple for year 2, and we have All About Reading level 2. We are already halfway through it. We'll probably be done with this probably by the end of term 1 or halfway through term 2. So we'll just jump right into All About Reading 3. I love them. My daughter's thriving. She loved the first one. Once again, lots of games. My husband likes to play the games, so he likes it. The only problem with this is that you have a lot to prep beforehand, and I always do the whole book before we even start it. So I try to prep this stuff months in advance. So whenever I know that we're getting close and I need to order level 3, as soon as it arrives, I'll prep it because we're gonna reuse it. So we always buy the teacher book, then we get the kids workbook, but I actually take them out, make copies, and we do it that way. And we go in and put together all the activities. We don't wanna be doing that when we're reading. So we will be doing level 2 and then level 3, and which made spelling really easy to decide because we're doing Zip into Spelling level 1. And so this is where you can see where I've already went in. We have the teacher's manual. So the teacher's manual is right here. And then I go through and go on and make copies, and I put all the activities together. So I went on and did this already. All the activities are in there. So all my husband does is open this up and get ready. And then they have the dictation sheets on their website. So instead of having a spelling notebook, I just went on and printed out the dictation sheets and bound this so she can write directly in here. So that spelling I think we plan on doing this every day. Some people say they only do it twice a week. We'll see how she likes it. She really, really thrives with reading, and she really wants to learn how to spell. So we're gonna do it every day, see how it goes. So they will do reading, spelling, and handwriting. So those are the 3 subjects that they do together. We've done Dash into Handwriting print for books 1, 2. We're now moving on to book 3. We'll be done with this after first term, and then we're just gonna go right into Dash into Handwriting Cursive book 1. And I'm pretty sure there's 3 books. So this is our books. I printed them out. We love them. My daughter loves them, so we're gonna keep on going with these. And then one thing that we added term 3, and she's absolutely loved it. This is how we kick off reading before we get into reading, before we'll do spelling, handwriting. This is how we kick it off, is with the word ladder book. And sometimes she wants to do 3 of these. Usually we do 1, and we just see how things are going. After she finishes reading and spelling, if she wants to keep going, then we'll let her do as many as she wants. But these have been so great. So we're almost done with this book. So then I ordered the Daily Word Ladders book 2. So we're gonna be continuing these. Those are the things that if nothing else gets done, those things get done, and it's a good day. Now we have all the extras that we rotate throughout the week. So last year, one thing that I did is I really floundered around with science, trying to get our bearings. There's just, I think as a new homeschooling mom, you have so many curriculum choices just thrown at you, and you wanna do it all. And the reality is you can't. So when I was thinking about what mistakes we made, and we'll link up that video, first year homeschooling, I feel so much more confident going into second year. And so last year we did a little bit of Blossom and Root. We did some unit studies that I designed based on where we were traveling with rainforest. We went to Costa Rica for 10 days. So like we did a whole 3-month on rainforest, which was really, really cool. If you want to see how I created that, leave a comment and I'll make sure to share with you all the resources I used and how I came up with that. But this year I really wanted to just jump back into something that was more consistent. And so I asked my daughter, out of all the Blossom and Root, like which science would she really like? And she really wanted to do plants. I was like, perfect, because I already bought the whole bundle because I knew we were doing that for literature. So we're doing Blossom and Root, level 2, Wonders of the Plant and Fungi Kingdoms. So we're gonna jump into this. One thing that I did do, and then here's the student notebook. Once again, we didn't do this last year, but I'm excited just to have like her notebooks all together. So I went on and bound that for her. And then one thing I did do is I went through the weeks and decided like what makes sense based on what we want to do and where we live. Because I want us to be able to do very hands-on things. That's important to us. And so I went through and I rearranged the weeks a little bit. And then another thing that we did was I went through the book list and I went on and marked which ones we own and which ones I got from the library and which ones we're just gonna skip, or which ones I wanna purchase because I wanna have them on hand. So if you wanna see how we plan any of this, leave a comment and I'll make sure to break down how I go through that. So on here, you can see that under science, we have Wonder Week 1, that's how she labels them, wonders. We go 1, 2, 3, 4. So we do the first 4 in order, but then we start to jump around. So we have Wonder Week 8, 20, and then week 7 of term 1, which gets into September for us. We jump in all the way to the end to fungi, because in Georgia, when I was looking up when we can go foraging and stuff like that, it's in the fall. So I wanted to make sure that's when we had the opportunity. So we're actually starting with fungi and mushrooms and all of that. So I did go rearrange the weeks, and I love with Blossom and Root, you're able to do that. And I love that it's such a literature-based curriculum. And so then as I go through and plan, I'll mark which activities we're actually gonna do from in here. So that is our science. That's what we're focused on, all about plants. And we have field trips on here. I always put our field trips, our hands-on experience. So like between weeks 9 and 12, foraging. So that's why I always like to rearrange and make sure it makes sense for us. So that's our science. That's 1 or 2 times a week. Usually if it's 2 times a week, that's because we're doing an activity on Friday. So that's where maybe we'll go on a field trip, or we'll go on a scavenger hunt, or whatever it is, we'll do that on Friday. So when I say twice a week, that's usually because there's an activity, or we call them lab days, on Friday. Now let's talk about geography. Now geography is a little interesting for us. I tried last year to do Torchlight and Build Your Library and really do the Around the World, and it just didn't fit for our family. I'm not saying it wasn't good or anything, it just didn't fit, and we travel a lot. And so for us, it makes sense to learn about the location before we go. So then as we're there, our kids are like putting things together. Oh yeah, remember when we saw that? Or it's important to learn culture before we go visit somewhere. So after being like, okay, I don't have to stick to a curriculum, I can make my own, I started creating our own geography studies based on where we were traveling to. So like when we went to Costa Rica, we spent 3 weeks beforehand learning about Costa Rica and their culture and different influential things that have happened and conservation efforts. And so that's where we lean. Before we go visit a state, we'll do our state study. And if you want to see how I do a week of a state study, comment below and I'll show you. It's very systematized now. And so going in to term 1, what we're going to do is we're going to do 2 weeks of France, 2 weeks of England, 2 weeks of Netherlands, because those are where we're going. So we have that in August where we're going to be traveling to those countries. So, and another example is in January, we're going to Hawaii. So we may spend 2 weeks on Hawaii to go over like just their culture and history. And so with that being said, when we're not traveling somewhere, one thing that I wanted to add in, because my daughter, like I said, she loves workbooks and it's something she can read now. So these are some things that she can do on her own too, is I got these because she loves, we have the math as just practice because we finished Math with Confidence. And we got her the math books of Evan Moore. She loves them. So I went on and grabbed grade 1, since we didn't do like formal geography, these workbooks. And so we're gonna just be working through these. We'll have them in our basket. Whenever she wants to grab them, she can. And then I also grabbed grade 2. So we'll be working through these as we're also going through more depth of different places we're traveling. So that's geography. The next one that we're gonna be adding is typing this term and just see how it goes. We're doing typing.com, so I'll link that up so you can see that. And we're just gonna go through. So I don't know if we're doing 1 lesson a week, 2 lessons a week, we'll see, but I know each lesson's pretty short. So we're gonna kind of let her do that and see how that goes, and then we'll determine term 2, term 3 if we're gonna continue. I'm sure we're gonna continue. She has to know how to type, but we'll also see how fast she moves through it and if we should only be doing it 1 or 2 days a week. So we'll figure that out. So that is, we are adding typing at least once a week. Our beauties. So we loved doing artist study last year, and I think I was just getting my bearings, and we did artist study term 1 and we all loved it. And then we got away from it and we did Van Gogh and it was fantastic. And then we went to the Van Gogh experience and that was really cool. And so we're gonna pick that back up. But the reason we're picking it up is because with my son doing early years volume 1, she already incorporates that into their lessons, and they spend about 4 weeks on each artist and composer. So what we do with Bodhi, our 2-year-old, will be what we do with Riley, but we're gonna take it up a level. So she starts with Van Gogh, and even though we did Van Gogh last year, we're gonna do Van Gogh again because we're also going to Amsterdam, which is where the Van Gogh Museum is. So we're just gonna circle back around to Van Gogh. And then we get into some other ones that I'm really excited, because one thing that she does really well at Blossom and Root is she incorporates new and old. So it's not just like a bunch of old European artists. She also incorporates females and more modern, which I'm super excited about. So we do have a wide variety, but just one way to show you how we're doing this together is for Bodhi, our 2-year-old, he'll have this book, his board book of Van Gogh. And then Riley, I love this series. We love this series so much. So then she'll have this book. And we have several. And then there are in the year 1. And if you want to see how we're setting up Bodhi's days or weeks, just go on and leave a comment. I can take you through a day with him and we'll see how that works. One thing with Riley too is she'll actually be doing the picture study where we look at the picture, we flip it over, she describes it. So with her, we're gonna be doing that. And then she'll have a project based on Van Gogh, like his style of art, and Bodhi will have one. So I think with his, it's get yellow and blue paint or something and he gets to paint. Of course, she's gonna be doing something a little bit more advanced than just painting with blue and yellow paint. So that's how we're gonna incorporate it. Whatever it says for the artist in early years, that's the artist we're doing as a family. And then with composer study, it's the same thing. Whatever is in his guide is what we're gonna do. So we're doing Mozart to start. So I have the books. I have ones that are like sound books for Bodhi, and then I also have more complex stories for Riley, and then we'll also be listening to Mozart throughout the day. So that's how we're gonna flow with composer and artist study, and I'm really excited to have a framework to work from. This year we're adding in Shakespeare. So I tried to do Shakespeare last year. It just didn't work. Like, I didn't know what I was doing and it just didn't work. And so we're members of Read Aloud Revival. And when I saw that this summer program, she was doing Midsummer Night and she was doing Shakespeare, I was like, oh man, she is so good. She will make this where we can all understand, all get excited. So we are gonna do Shakespeare. I think that it's 6 weeks that she has. We'll probably spread it out the whole term, so 12 weeks. And I'm hoping by the time I go through hers, then I'll be like, okay, I know how to teach Shakespeare, because we do have this book as well. So we're gonna follow her framework for teaching it. And then depending on how everyone likes it, then we may go in term 2 and do another one, and I'll just set it up myself. The other reason we're starting with Shakespeare is, once again, we're going to London, we're going to England. So we want to make sure that when we go to the Globe Theatre, everyone understands who Shakespeare is and what's going on. So we're excited about that. Okay, so we're almost done. We are doing Lily and Thistle around the world for our art. So it works out very well because they'll pair up with geography. So I know that we already have Lily and Thistle on here. The French powdered wig we're doing, then we have an Eiffel Tower. Then they had one for England. They also had one for the Netherlands. So we got really lucky with those, that we have 2 art projects for each country. So we're gonna use those. And part of that is she also teaches history through it. So that's gonna be part of our history, but that's our art. And when we don't have a country that matches up, or if we're not traveling to a different country, we're actually going to go and do Lily and Thistle watercolor school. So we also have that. So we'll be doing a pairing of either her hands-on around the world or her watercolor school. So that's what we plan on doing this year. For art, you're probably like, wait, where's history? So we did Curiosity, Chronicles, Ancients, and we did Build Your Library Prehistory. My daughter was not a fan of either one of them. Curiosity Chronicles, she liked the audiobook and the back and forth dialogue, but she wasn't really getting any of it. She didn't like mummies, she didn't like dinosaurs, she didn't like Rome, and I am a history major, and I was like, oh, the ancients are like my favorite, and she didn't like them. So I was like so caught up, and I think this is one thing I learned. I was so caught up that there's so many trains of thought, like do you teach your own history first? Do you teach chronological? And I was like, oh, teaching chronological makes so much more sense. So I was like so dead set on this. And then I just realized, like, she doesn't like history. And so if we're gonna teach history, we have to find a way that she does like it. And so how we're gonna incorporate history is, one, through the art. So whenever we travel somewhere, through our geography study and through our art, we will still be doing it. And we're still gonna do our timeline notebook. So we have the timeline notebook from School Nest, and this has actually been really great. I just print out the stickers and then we put them in here. So we're gonna continue to do timeline notebook and reference, like, oh, this is before this, this is after this. We're gonna continue to do that, but we're not gonna go in chronological order. So whatever we're learning in history, whoever we're learning about, so when we learn about Shakespeare, we're gonna put him in our timeline. When we talk about the powdered wigs of France, we're gonna figure out what part that was in. We're gonna put that in there. And then also part of our history, so we're gonna incorporate geography, we're gonna teach history and geography, we're gonna teach history through everything we're doing, what we're learning about. And then one thing that we are doing each term is one unit study. My daughter loves unit studies, and we're gonna take like a 4-week unit study and stretch it out to 12. But part of those is there's history built into those unit studies. So term 1 unit study, we're doing culinary arts from Harbor and Sprout. And in there they teach history and they teach, I think it's like ancient grains. And so that's gonna work out really well, and because it's still ancient. And so we'll put that in here as we're learning. So whatever unit study we're doing, we'll also be learning history through that. So instead of, hey Riley, we're sitting down to do history, it's gonna be built into what we're doing. And she was very responsive to that. She loves the podcasts that are history related, like Forever Ago, that podcast, she loves that. Honest History, she loves that. But when we sit down and say, hey, we're doing history, she hates it. So we're just gonna incorporate history throughout. So with that being said, we're doing a unit study with Harbor and Sprout on culinary art. So it is a 4-week, we're gonna stretch it out 12. So within the Harbor and Sprout, there's a mix of math, language arts, history. We'll be doing cooking, of course. And so there's so many aspects that I'm gonna sprinkle in throughout as we're doing it. And since we are doing it over 12 weeks instead of 4, we'll be able to get to a lot of different things. And if there is something that she's super interested in, maybe she gets super interested in China and ancient grains, we can go deeper on that for history within that. So that's our plan for history. And then term 2, we're gonna probably for our unit study there's a Harry Potter one that we wanna do because we're doing Harry Potter when we go to London, so it would be cool to do that. And because in that unit study, there's a whole herbology, and we're doing plants this year. So that makes sense. So we're gonna do that term 2, and then term 3, we're doing beekeeping because we're talking about pollinators, but also because we're gonna actually be getting bees for our property. So that's kind of the plan with our unit study. She really loves unit studies, so we're just gonna take 4-week unit studies, spread them out to 12, and see how that goes. So if you wanna see how we're prepping for any of that, comment below and I'll show you how I'm planning those out. The only other thing that we do like to incorporate is free reads, so that we can just pick up anytime or maybe at night or on the weekends. And I do like to have some free reads planned, but then other ones it's like, oh, this is out. And since we are part of Read Aloud Revival, we have that membership. So sometimes if we see a book there, like last year for Christmas, we did The Christmas Carol. It was so good. My daughter loved it. And so I always like to leave free space for if a book comes up there that she really wants to read. One thing that we do is we're gonna continue reading out of our Blue Fairy book. I love this book. I don't know if she loves it, but she'll sit there and color while I read to her. I love this book. So we'll be continuing these. I also got Pinocchio. So this is a really cool addition. She'll listen to a chapter book, but if there's pictures, she'll be all in it. So this one's very colorful and beautiful. And we have a few of these. We have The Wizard of Oz. We have this one. I think there's Alice in Wonderland. So if she really likes this one, I'll probably get some more of them. And then before we leave for England, we're gonna be reading Mary Poppins. And so I got this edition. It's illustrated. So we're gonna be reading Mary Poppins, will probably be our first free read. So we can do this before we head to England. So that is what we have planned for 2nd grade. And I know it sounds like a lot, but when you break it down, it's really not. Reading is just part of what we do in this family. Science, we do once a week. We do our labs on Fridays. We like to do hands-on. Literature is just every single morning. We have a flow, and I'm not stuck on anything. I always leave room for us to not get to something. I'm totally okay with that as long as we get to our core things. And then if we get to something and they're just not into it, that's totally fine. But artist study usually takes 15 minutes. Composer study is just something we're doing. We'll read a book, and then around dinner, we're listening to the composer. So we're not doing deep, we're just exposing our children to as much as possible. And I will say mostly geography. Our whole family loves how I do geography lessons, and it's a family activity. We get super excited about it. So sometimes we do that after dinner. Sometimes we do it before dinner. Sometimes we do it on Saturday. So we're not super stuck in making sure it's done Monday through Thursday, but we do make sure our core subjects do get done during the week, and then all the extras we can do anytime. That's the beauty of homeschooling, is we're always learning. We're always learning. We don't just shut off on Thursdays and we're checking out. We're still reading, we're still exploring, we're still going on field trips. That is our plan for 2nd grade for our 2025-2026 school year. I'm super excited. This excites me. We're gonna have such a good year. And I'm just ready to get into this year. And if you're sitting there and you're trying to plan out your curriculum for this year and you're just overwhelmed, you're stressed, you're like, oh my gosh, that's so much. Just remember, you don't have to do it all. You can start with the basics. You don't need all this. And honestly, that's one of the biggest mistakes that I made last year, thinking I needed to do everything and I needed all the curriculums. You need to do what's best for your family and how y'all function as homeschoolers. If you found this helpful, I would love for you to go ahead and hit subscribe. I'm always sharing what's working for us, what we're doing, our daily rhythms, what's not working, how I plan unit studies, and so much more. And if there's something I talked about today that you want a deeper dive, make sure to leave a comment below. I'm an open book. I'm open to showing you anything and everything you want to see behind the scenes of a working mom a stay-at-home dad, homeschooling a 7-year-old and now a 2-year-old. And let me know in the comments, what are you using this year? What have you used in the past? What's worked really well for y'all? What has not worked very well for y'all? And what you are most excited about for this upcoming school year. So thanks for hanging out with me. I'll see you in the next video. Bye, y'all.